Godzilla. Godzilla is basically the world's most famous angry giant lizard god thing, who has been rebooted so many times it probably has identity issues. In the MonsterVerse, he's a prehistoric amphibious reptile known as Titanus Gojira that's been around since the Permian period, sleeping underground or under the sea and eating geothermal radiation like it's a spawn retreat, only popping up every few millennia and accidentally inspiring myths before humans officially noticed him in 2014, when monster parasites woke him and he decided to stomp some cities and sometimes protect Earth from other big nasties, thanks to his alpha predator vibes and atomic breath powers. In the classic Showa era, Godzilla is a prehistoric reptile awoken and supercharged by hydrogen bomb tests, emerging from the ocean like the world's worst neighbor who never returns borrowed tools and goes on a rampage through Tokyo, later mellowing into an anti-hero buddy who even adopts a son named Manila. The Heisei version takes the giant dinosaur mutated by radiation idea seriously. He started life as a Godzillasaur dinosaur and got mutated by nuclear exposure, involving some wild time travel shenanigans, into the towering atomic beast who feeds on nuclear energy and occasionally fights other monsters, sometimes heroically and sometimes just grumpily. So depending on the timeline, he's either an ancient slumbering force of nature, a radioactive prehistoric beast, or basically that neighbor who shows up uninvited, only much bigger and with more atomic breath.
Mothra. Mothra is a giant divine moth-like kaiju, a really big friendly bug with an attitude, who shows up in different Godzilla universes with slightly different backstories but basically the same job: make the world safe and fancy with butterfly vibes. Or at least, try. In the MonsterVerse, she's known as Titanus Masura, a benevolent titan revered as a goddess by ancient human civilizations for millennia, awakened from a massive egg discovered in a hidden temple, literally older than your grandpa's fossil collection and ready to fight the bad guys and look majestic while doing it. This Mothra protects the Earth and even teams up with Godzilla and Kong against bigger threats like King Ghidorah or the Skar King. In the Showa era, she first hatched on mysterious Infant Island and was worshipped by natives while tiny fairy priestesses called Shobijin sang her theme song, seriously, and often had to be rescued because humans are terrible. She's reborn from giant eggs, fights Godzilla when needed, and generally tries to do good, even if your city gets wrecked in the process. In the Heisei era, Mothra is still a divine moth who lives on Infant Island with her priestesses, now the cosmos, and has even deeper lore. She once guarded the ancient world and battled a darker creature called Batra to keep balance, then chilled on her island until humans kneecapped her egg and chaos ensued, leading her to hatch, cocoon, and fight for Earth again.
King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah is basically the three-headed golden space dragon kaiju who shows up in Godzilla lore looking like someone melted a chandelier and added wings, teeth, and a bad attitude. In the MonsterVerse, he's an ancient, mysterious, ice-buried titan called Monster Zero with unknown cosmic origins that Monarch unfreezes to find a massive winged serpent with independent thinking heads and hurricane wing powers that could wreck your city and your day. And he's implied to be this huge superspecies apex predator that's been around so long we have myths about him, because his real backstory is that old and dark. In the classic Showa continuity, he's literally an alien dragon from outer space who cruised the cosmos snacking on planets like Venus, and later showed up via meteor to terrorize Earth, sometimes under the thumb of goofy space invaders trying to conquer the planet for water or other dull reasons. Then, in the Heisei era, they gave him a twist straight out of a time-travel sci-fi novel. Future terrorists called Futurians plant three engineered creatures called Dorats on an island in the past. Those little guys get zapped by a nuclear test and fuse into the giant three-headed terror we know as King Ghidorah, created for the express purpose of wrecking Japan's economy by way of atomic destruction before Godzilla shows up to ruin his plans.
King Kong. King Kong is a gigantic ape-like titan beast, best known for stomping around Skull Island and sometimes tussling with Godzilla. But he's not just a big monkey, in both major versions you asked about. In the MonsterVerse, Kong is a member of a prehistoric superspecies called Titanus Kong that evolved down in the Hollow Earth and grew so huge he makes a basketball player look like an action figure. Worshipped as a god by the native Iwi tribe, protector of Skull Island, and later leader of his fellow apes after surviving countless skullcrawler attacks and losing his parents. Showing smarts by using weapons and even sign language with selected humans, before becoming an even bigger badass in later films. In the classic Showa era, the older Toho Kaiju movies from the 1960s, Kong instead hails from places like Faru Island or Mondo Island, where locals literally worship him as their mighty god. And he's portrayed as a tragic but sympathetic giant who only wrecks stuff when provoked and has a soft spot for damsels in distress.
often getting into giant monster brawls with Godzilla and other kaiju, because Hollywood/Toho thought it'd be fun to pit big creatures against each other. Honestly, whether he's a Hollow Earth Alpha Titan or a Showa-era island god, King Kong is basically big guy with anger issues who also might hug you, which explains why he's one of the most beloved oversized primates in pop culture history.
Gigan. Gigan is a giant alien cyborg kaiju from the Godzilla movies, basically a space dinosaur with a buzzsaw belly and hook hands that looks like someone slapped a robot onto a bird dinosaur for laughs and then added knives just to be sure everyone knew he was serious. In the Showa era, early 1970s, Gigan was originally a type of extraterrestrial space dinosaur that was killed and then turned into a cyborg by the cockroach-like M Space Hunter Nebula aliens so they could use him as a muscle-bound pawn in their plan to conquer Earth alongside King Ghidorah. Picture giant alien bugs hiring a monster because outsourcing was cheaper than building their own army. That version of Gigan first showed up in Godzilla vs. Gigan 1972, where he slices up cities and gets beaten by Godzilla and friends, then shows up again in Godzilla vs. Megalon, usually retreating when things go south, like a villain in a B-movie who forgot his lines. In Godzilla Final Wars 2004, Gigan's origin is rebooted for the Millennium continuity as an ancient cybernetic monster sent to Earth thousands of years ago by the advanced alien Silians, gets defeated by Mothra, and later mummified until rediscovered and reactivated by the Silians' invasion force to fling himself back into battle against Godzilla. Think of it like a prehistoric robot buried in a closet until someone finds it and says, "Hey, want a job?"
Rodan. Rodan is basically Godzilla's very angry flying cousin, whose name started life as Radon, a mashup of Pteranodon, the prehistoric flying reptile he's based on, and got Americanized to Rodan so toy makers wouldn't get sued by a noble gas company, and because Radon sounds like something that will give you lung cancer instead of giant monster vibes. In the classic Showa era, Rodan was literally two gigantic pterosaurs that hatched underground thanks to radiation, woke up when miners poked around, slammed through countries in supersonic flight, and generally caused more wind damage than a tornado with a vengeance, before either dying in lava or coming back to help Godzilla fight other monsters. In the Heisei era, he's a lone irradiated pteranodon mutated by Russian nuclear dumping on Andonoa Island, whose tragic origin is basically radioactivity happened and now I am huge and angry. And he even gets a spicy powered-up form called Fire Rodan after absorbing nuclear energy, and tries to protect a baby Godzilla egg like a weird prehistoric babysitter. Then in the MonsterVerse reboot, Rodan's less of a traditional pterosaur and more of a volcanic winged nightmare slumbering inside a Mexican volcano until eco-terrorists trigger his fiery awakening. This version is a massive volcanic-skinned titan whose beat-em-up flight antics include sonic booms and a general disdain for humans, before he ends up bowing to Godzilla, because even titans know who the real boss is.
Destoroyah. Destoroyah is a hilariously over-the-top kaiju from the Godzilla franchise, best known as the final boss of the Heisei era, who literally comes from microscopic prehistoric crustaceans that survived since the Precambrian era under Tokyo Bay and went on a long, weird evolutionary binge after being hit by the infamous oxygen destroyer weapon used to kill the original Godzilla in 1954, mutating over decades into a monstrous, multiform nightmare that can grow from tiny critters into a gigantic red devil creature hell-bent on destruction, combining into juvenile, aggregate, flying, and perfect forms as it evolves, and nearly wiping the floor with Godzilla himself in Godzilla vs. Destoroyah in 1995, before being obliterated by extreme cold and heat in a climactic battle that is equal parts tragic and absurd. And yes, that means this villain is basically the oxygen destroyer incarnate, a species of mutated crustaceans gone so rogue they make Terminators look like pleasant librarians, with an origin that ties back directly to mankind's attempt to kill Godzilla. So you can think of Destoroyah as nature's angry reply to human hubris, a sadistic kaiju who even kills Godzilla's son just because he can, earning his name when the scientists realize he's essentially a living, breathing version of the very weapon that defined Godzilla's first defeat. And although his roots are microscopic and kind of goofy, by the time he's done growing, he's huge, terrifying, and pretty much the most dramatic monster dad nightmare imaginable.
Skar King. Skar King is a gigantic, super mean primate titan introduced as a villain in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, basically Kong's evil doppelganger, and the mustache-twirling tyrant of the Hollow Earth, who definitely skipped empathy class in favor of how to rule by fear. He's a lanky, chimpanzee-ish orangutanish monster with red fur, glowing blue eyes, war paint, and a scar, who isn't above enslaving his own kind or keeping all the female apes as unwilling harem members, because his idea of fun is dictator stuff. Skar King's backstory is that eons ago he tried to conquer the surface world and wage war against Godzilla and the other titans. got his butt handed to him by the King of Monsters, and was sealed in the Hollow Earth, where in villain retreat mode, he enslaved the ancient ice titan Shimo, using a crystal he carried around like a really cruel leash. Designed to be the anti-Kong, his personality literally embodies humanity's worst traits: cruelty, tyranny, sadism, greed, and general jerkishness that would impress even the most villainous soap opera royalty. So instead of rescuing kittens, he makes other apes suffer for fun and profits. In the film, he attempts to freeze the world into a new ice age with Shimo's help, until Godzilla and Kong, who probably just wanted a nap, team up to take him down, ending his reign of "oh no" and cementing him as one of the MonsterVerse's memorable big bads.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching until the end. I'll be back with more videos, so make sure to like and subscribe.